Welcome
Ask a
to
Mountain Bike Professional.
welcome to Ask a Mountain Bike Professional. This
We
week,
should talk about e-bikes.
yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Welcome to Ask a Mountain Bike Professional for the third time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, here I am.
We're gonna get back to a little bit of don't turn the screw if you don't know what to do in today's episode. But I'm Dave. This is Aaron, and we are with MTBTune.Online bringing you this week's episode. As far as news, before we jump into today's topic, the biggest news for us in the mountain bike world this week was one of the very last holdouts, Transition Bikes. We interviewed Cam Burns with Transition just a few weeks ago and asked him about the release of an e-bike, and lo and behold, they released one just a couple days ago. Aaron, what's your hot take?
My hot take is that anytime that I can buy speed rather than work for it, I'm in.
Nice.
Put a motor on it, make me go faster, I'm in.
And still be able to ride single track.
Yes, yep, exactly.
That's important. No, there's been a ton of chatter about Transition Bikes never having a e-bike. A few years ago they did, I think they called it the Petrol.
Yeah. Pedal assist.
Yeah, or they put a little gas-powered motor on a Patrol.
Yeah.
And called it the Petrol.
Well, I think it was their old, what was it? The clunker. They
even put it on a clunker. Yeah, that's right. But I'm one of those guys that I don't think it's a sellout. I think it's a smart move on their part. I think that e-bikes, love them or hate them, they're here to stay, and they're gonna only increase the amount of people that get into mountain biking and eventually help us get more and more trails. Yeah, there'll be some disputes along the way, but I think that they'll get more people into the sport, and trail access will improve because a lot of people with a lot of money are going to be buying e-bikes and enjoying the outdoors.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. I think that e-bikes are going to give us more trails. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see e-bike specific trails where acoustic bikes are banned. I'm just kidding. I don't think we'll ever see that.
I love the acoustic bike comment. We picked that up at a Rocky Mountains event.
Yeah, that was a Wade Simmons quote.
Yeah, that was the Godfather who started calling them acoustic bikes. We went and rode with them, and that was a ton of fun. And kind of really, I think that's what got you and I on board with e-bikes.
Yeah,
was riding with who else did they have there?
Jesse Melamed.
Oh yeah, Jesse Melamed was
Jesse
there as well.
and Wade, and then I think those were the only people worth mentioning aside from Sam, our sales rep.
Oh yeah, gotta mention Sam.
Sam's fantastic.
No, but that really did open my eyes to e-bikes and riding with really good riders on them. Mm-hmm. What you could pull off on an e-bike that you couldn't on an acoustic bike. I kind of like that electric versus acoustic.
Yeah.
Nomenclature. That's kind of fun. But yeah, today spring's coming. Last week we got some huge snowstorms here and actually got out on the ski bikes in some really deep powder. But being March, we know that that's about to end. And so everybody's kind of gearing up, and the diehards are starting to do their training to get back in shape to get out there. I couldn't call them the diehards. What do you call
them? Dedicated, ambitious,
not lazy riders. We're not lazy, but
sometimes we call them Nicole.
She's not with us today, so we could say. I mean, we shouldn't say that, but we did.
Because she's ambitious.
Because she's ambitious. That's right. No, I mean, people are trying to get back in physical condition to go biking if they haven't been able to bike all winter and get that enjoyment out. And there are tons of shows and podcasts and everything else out there to teach you how to train to become better. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about other things you can do to get faster besides training.
I am a firm believer that the fastest way to the top of the hill is in a shuttle truck.
Yeah, that's true. And we just built a cool one, so we're going to talk about that too. We're missing just a few key components to throw on there.
Yeah.
And then we'll do building a shuttle vehicle on a budget. And I'm also a huge fan of the shuttle ride. Not just the pivot e-bike, but throwing your bikes on the back of the truck and getting to the top and, telling somebody that they're going to have as much fun being the shuttle driver as they will riding. Gary. And once you got that in place, you can get in a lot of laps in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I believe that Gary does have as much fun as we do. We always talk about how Gary gets to come mountain biking with us, and he does, and he probably wouldn't come mountain biking with us on a mountain bike. So it works great. We're able to talk with Gary and have conversations and all of that.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that. He would love to go biking more. I took him biking a couple weeks ago in St. George, and he loved being on a bike. But my repair bills for the shuttle vehicles show that he does have as much fun as we do while shuttle driving. But anyway, we're not talking about shuttling. We're talking about other things you can do to get faster. Because one of the questions that we get all the time in the shop is, when you're asking about a component or an upgrade or changing the tires or whatever it may be, will this make my bike faster? So we're talking about making your bike faster, not necessarily getting physically fit to make yourself faster.
Yeah, and so it's all about the performance gains. You don't want to lose those gains. And so first we'll talk about ways that you can take your current bike and make it faster. And it's super simple. Just maintain it. Have a tune-up, have it properly adjusted, because all of those gains that you got over the winter physically are going to be downplayed when your brakes are rubbing. So if you don't have properly adjusted brakes, you're still going to be slower than you could be. Other performance gains, making sure your gears are adjusted properly, because if it's jumping between gears, that's going to make you back off, plus it's not going to stay in gear. And then also being able to shift properly. When you click it, it goes into the gear that you're wanting it to go into. That's going to make you faster. Then beyond adjustment.
Yeah, those are kind of the main things with adjusting your bike to be faster. Obviously, having a bike that's in great condition and well maintained will also make you feel more confident in that, and you'll be able to ride it harder and faster. Yeah. But I mean, what are some upgrades that you would tell people that legitimately could help them? And honestly, perception is reality. So we're not talking about winning the next enduro race. We're talking about having a great time, feeling like you're faster, and potentially, beating your significant other or your riding partner to either the top or the bottom of the trail.
Yeah. So a new bike that's gonna make you faster. And I'm not just talking about because it's the latest, greatest, whatnot. It's more about the motor than the machine. That's what somebody on the internet once said. I'm sure of it. But the psychological benefits of having a new bike, you're excited to go out and ride this new bike, to see how it performs. So that's going to diminish over time, but right away you're gonna be excited, and you're gonna seemingly have more fun on it. So when you're having fun, you push the bike harder, no question.
Yeah, and as humans, we're really good at justifying large expenses we've made. So you either have two paths, right? You have buyer's remorse, or you're super stoked about what you just got, and you tell everybody about it and how cool it is and all that stuff. But I'm convinced that buying a new bike will make you faster, because you will put more into that bike. You'll try harder. You may feel more winded at the top, but that's because you rode your new bike harder than you were riding your old bike. But I've got a pretty good buddy in Strava Clown who borrowed a bike when he was thinking of buying a new one. And honestly, it was one of my bikes. It wasn't necessarily better than the bike he was on by any means, but he was so excited about it that he went out on it and smashed a couple of his Strava times on local trails that he rides all the time. So I'm convinced a lot of that was psychological. And I mean, I sell bikes, so I'm not going to downplay that, but it's not something to ignore either. New gear probably helps you ride faster, both because it performs potentially quite a bit better, but also because psychologically you're stoked.
Yeah, and beyond, a new $3, $4, $5, $10, $12,000 mountain bike, other upgrades to make it faster and more exciting. In fact, the biggest upgrade I feel like you can do to a bike is new awesome tires. You can get you can get the same tires that you've always been running if you ran the other ones for an entire season, or depending on how much you ride, the past 5 seasons. Getting a new set, it feels better, and it's I think it's quantifiable even, along with the psychological effects of just being more fun.
Yeah, and I mean, new rubber's huge. I like to try different tires, and once again, I got to be honest, I'm not a scientist. It might be more, I'm not performing rocket surgery out there every day, but it might be more psychological than anything. But with a different set of rubber, I pay more attention to the cornering. I pay more attention to how fast everything's rolling. I pay more attention to how fast I'm going. I kind of really pay attention to grip, and I'm pushing hard to get those to get that feedback on this new tire that I'm running. And so I've had some of my most favorite rides on new rubber, but once again, it might be because I'm pushing harder to get all that feel. But there is also something about having a better tire or more rubber contact with the ground that just does give you that sense of confidence to push it a little bit harder, in addition to you're just trying out new gear.
Yeah, and combining new tires with fresh suspension. Once you get your fork and your rear shock serviced, even if it's just a lower service on the fork, those new seals, I feel like seeing it up there all clean and fresh and ready to get dirty, that also is on par with the new bike day, because I feel like I want to push it and make sure that like for me, I personally service my suspension right, and that it does feel better.
Yeah, so that's a great point. I understand suspension well enough, and before you and I were, as on like a sleep together a few times a year sort of relationship.
On bike trips.
That's right, on bike trips, fully clothed. Dang it. But no, before we had that level of relationship, I spent a lot of time with new suspension or freshly serviced suspension on my own rig, figuring it out and taking the time. First I'd read about it, what was different about the other one and what was new, and then really taking time to adjust it. I'm a Shock Whiz guy too. I've used the Shock Whiz for a year, and I feel like that really is a pretty decent product. It gets you a good baseline. But it would take me quite a while to dial that in to where I felt like it was awesome. Now, thanks to you, I get it dialed in better, and then I usually want to go on a long ride with you on a freshly serviced suspension or on a new bike, so that partway down the hill when we stop and talk, I can say, hey, this feels this a little bit. And you can tweak it for me. I mean, not everybody has that, that close of a relationship with their mechanic. That level of relationship. Nor with the great mechanic. But, I mean, that's one of the goals that we kind of have. We're still going to add a lot of that to the MTBTune.Online stuff, is the how to set up your suspension properly, what all these things actually mean, how that should feel on the trail, what 1 or 2 clicks of this or that or the other will do for you, or adding a volume spacer or a little bit of air. And I am completely sold on the fact that having your suspension set up right is going to change your life.
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation before. There's even, I mean, there are companies out there, I'm not going to name any of them, but there are companies out there that sell really high-end suspension, but one of their big things they do is they set it all up for you. You send them a lot of information. They set up that shock as part of the sale and send it back to you. And I'm convinced that it's that suspension being properly set up that's as much of the benefit you reap from that as it is the physical gear. Because the Float X2 is awesome, and the new grip damper's awesome. And what's the latest from the other big guys? I mean,
the Charger 2.1.
There you go, the Charger 2.1. I probably would have said 2.0 and totally blown it.
Yeah, or so outdated.
This super duper deluxe rear with the reservoirs, an awesome shock, and all the coil stuff that kind of everybody's going back to now. It's all really good. There was a time where I thought I wasn't going to mention any. I thought the double barrel was like leaps and bounds above other shocks. And maybe it was, but really I think it was because we spent so much time dialing it in. It was a good chunk of that. Not all of it, but a good chunk of that.
Yeah, and with stuff like that twin tube dampers with high speed, low speed rebound and high speed, low speed compression, it forces you to pay attention. And it definitely makes it possible to screw it up and make it worse, but also makes it so that you pay attention to the feel of it, so that you know what works. And honestly, if you just put it all in the middle, you're going to be fine. But 1 or 2 clicks out, you're going to be finer. Yeah,
you're going to be damn fine if you figure out where those clicks should really be. I mean, a good example, I remember going on a pretty good ride in Park City. I think all told mid-mountains, like 30 miles, if you do the whole thing.
That seems right.
Depends on which way you go down. And I guess you don't count the down, so it's really probably like 35 or something, depending on where you head down, and which way you end up going down, and how you got up to it. Anyway, it's a pretty good ride. And doing that on a brand new piece of suspension kit that I wasn't familiar with, and started with everything in the middle, and not understanding one of the adjustments that you had to make with a really tiny Allen key out on the trail, and totally screwing it up, not realizing that I was turning what I didn't think I was turning, so I kept turning it. I was turning that screw and I didn't know what it do. And pretty soon my ride sucked. Like, it was awful. So I went back to middle, realized what I'd done wrong, and by the end of the ride was having a great ride again. But suspension's one of those things that you go too far one way, you're gonna have a worse experience.
Oh yeah.
You may not catch on why until you have somebody that knows what they're doing helping you, but your bike's not gonna feel the way it should.
Yeah, I remember talking to somebody that was buying a bike from me, and he talked about his old bike and how it just felt terrible, and it bucked him off of this one jump on a local trail. Like, it wasn't even a jump, it was just a water breaker. But it always bucked him, and he never felt comfortable. And I remember thinking to myself, actually I probably did tell him that it could have just been suspension adjustment, because having too firm of a suspension or too fast of a rebound, that's gonna buck you. And so, yeah. Aside from new or fresh suspension and tires and having everything in adjustment, something super, super simple is proper air in those new tires. I know, well, so I'll have people occasionally come in and talk to me and say that they have to put air in every time they go out for a ride. And I'm like, well, how often are you riding? They're like, once or twice a month. I'm like, I put air in every single ride because 1 or 2 PSI makes a difference to me. I might be buying into the marketing machine telling me I need air. Whatever.
You purchase so much air to put in your tires. They're like, dude, you need 2 more PSI. How much will that be?
Yeah, how much will that be? Well, are you going to do with regular air or premium air? Premium makes you faster.
And they're like, you need carbon air, carbon dioxide, straight out of this carbon case it comes in. And then we're going to use carbon nanotubes to get this carbon dioxide inside your carbon nanotube tire, graphene infused.
The thing is, I could just blow into the tires and get that carbon dioxide in, but it's not being blown in through a carbon nanotube, so it's not the same.
If you don't know how to blow, you don't know how to go.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
That was the internet that said that. That was the internet.
No, but seriously, we could talk forever about PSI and tires, because it is one of your most important contact points. You meet the earth through those things, and your relationship with the earth is super important. Yeah. And if you don't happen to live where everything feels loamy and beautiful, Pacific Northwest, no good sons of bees, then your only way to get that awesome feel is by having your tires set up right and your suspension set up right. But I think I've said this before, especially with your kids out there riding, don't throw 60 pounds of pressure into your kids' tires and send them out on a mountain bike trail.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they're going to have a miserable experience. And if you can upgrade them to tubeless or tubeless with some sort of tire that can take the abuse or protection, do it. Because your kids, I mean, they're going to enjoy the sport more and feel more confident riding faster.
Yeah, we have kids and we want them to ride bikes, and so yeah, we've spent hours obsessing over what it takes to make our kids enjoy biking more. And sometimes a shuttle run is not the answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes that ends poorly.
Well, I mean, unless you want to hose your kid and beat them down the trail, then throw more air in their tires or way too little. But I mean, you're also a NICA coach, and you coach NICA coaches. So I mean that's a huge thing with a lot of those teenage riders too. They do want to ride faster. Yeah. And a lot of them have no idea what they're doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So safety, having the right amount of tire pressure and suspension set up, like your bike being able to handle the trail can save a kid from serious disaster and also make him faster in those NICA races.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, above and beyond the actual control that they're going to gain, the confidence that they're going to gain. So seeing a kid that's a decent rider, having bikes set up properly, they will, after just a few rides, will gain more and more confidence, especially if they're pushing it. They're going to understand how much higher that limit is, and so they're going to instantly get faster, and the control that they get is going to make a difference for sure, but the confidence that they get in that control is going to be the biggest thing to give them more speed.
Sidetrack, but I broke one of my own rules about talking to the general public. Is I dropped an acronym that I don't know what it is. What does NICA stand for? I can't remember.
National Interscholastic Collegiate Association.
Come on, what does it really stand for?
I might be wrong on the C, but
National Interscholastic Cycling Association. I was like, this starts in 7th grade. College isn't involved.
Yeah, I didn't think so, but I just kept talking because confidence is 90% of what it takes to get people to accept you as a professional and an intellectual.
And since this is Ask a Mountain Bike Professional, we're not going to throw out acronyms unless we tell you what they mean, I think, unless we already did. And then we probably already did.
Call us out if we made a mistake.
Yep. If we threw out an acronym that you didn't know, or you know that we didn't know, either one, hit us with that.
And then we will Google it.
And then we will Google it and get right back to you. No, we might know what it is.
Yeah.
Or Aaron will throw a college at it. Like, that sounds like a big acronym. It's probably like university level.
Natural Interscholastic Collegiate Academia.
And it has to do with kids riding bikes.
For bike riding kids.
One of those. So anything else, any other things you can do to make yourself faster? Don't say Lycra. It doesn't make you faster on a mountain bike. Back in the original days, they kind of thought it did.
Well, if you
wait. It doesn't make you faster on a mountain bike. And I mean you, it doesn't. It might make a pro cross-country racer faster. But if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not a pro cross-country racer.
It can make you more comfortable, though. It's like wearing nothing at all, sexy Ned Flanders. Have I thrown out that one on the podcast yet?
No.
Oh.
I have to look that up right now. Sexy Ned Flanders.
Like wearing nothing at all.
Yeah, let's see if we can... Ooh, it was Lycra and skiing.
Yep, it was skiing. So.
Stupid sexy Ned Flanders. I'm a Simpsons buff, and I could not remember where that was from. So I had to go to the internet and find this. And for those watching, not listening, if you're listening, go ahead and Google "sexy Ned Flanders." It's safe. You're going to be
Have your safe search.
Have your safe search on. But here we're looking at the what is my reaction to most mountain bikers in Lycra.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm jealous, but partly because it's not necessary and kind of silly. I have an awesome story about this. I was at Interbike one year when it used to be in Bootleg Canyon.
Yeah.
So the demo days were in Bootleg. Bootleg is gnarly. If you haven't ridden Bootleg, it's like hacked into...
It's like riding on
razor
shards
blades.
of glass and razor blades mixed together.
Yeah, it's pretty... It's like skin shredder type stuff. And there's even the cross-country trails. They're not like terribly tough, but there's a lot of really short, steep, punchy up hills and then some down and up. And there was a dude there in all white Lycra. And it was kind of the year that fat bikes became a big thing. So everybody's test riding fat bikes out here in this non-fat bike conditions, right? Although they worked pretty well. Once again, if you had the right tire pressure, it worked pretty well. But anyway, I was following this guy, and him and all his Lycra-clad buddies were trying to climb this hill, and they're cheering him on. He's clipped in, and he falls off, and literally ripped the back of his white Lycra pants off out in the middle of the Nevada desert. It was awful and awesome.
Depends on your perspective.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then, me and whoever I was with in our probably coveralls, because we're such hicks. No, our
insulated Carhartts in the desert.
Our Carhartt cut-off coveralls and a flannel shirt, pedaled up the same thing next to him, and they thought it was amazing. So it was really, really one of those awesome Lycra experiences that I'm going to take it to my grave. It was beautiful. Although blood on the remains of white Lycra in the middle of the desert, once you get to the bottom with your God-given birthday suit hanging out of the back, is really quite a disturbing sight, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Lycra. Sorry, don't go Lycra, but other gear that can make you faster, I should say.
So comfort actually is going to make you faster. So whether that's loose fitting, stretchy, breathable clothes, whatever that takes, that's going to make you faster. But then also comfort on the bike. So adjusting your touch points on the bike to get you more comfortable, getting comfortable grips. Like a whole lot of people swear by some grips that I feel like are terrible. And some of the grips that I absolutely love, Dave thinks are terrible. And so
It's true.
So do not base your decisions of what's comfortable off of other people's recommendations, because they oh, Dave is showing the size of his hands. He rides like 70 millimeter thick grips.
That doesn't go around a bar very well with a little tiny baby grip. That gets super uncomfortable. You're doing this. So yeah, mitt size. Everybody has different hands and feet and reach and posture.
Yeah.
Granted, when you're coaching somebody, you try and help them to find a posture that can really increase their speed. But everybody comes with a natural posture that's most comfortable to them, that they're going to have to fight a little bit to get to a faster one. So if you can hit all those touch points in their natural posture, where they're going to hang out a lot of the time, they're going to have a more comfortable and probably faster overall ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Bike position makes a difference on what's good. So I don't run all the same stuff on all of my bikes, depending on the type of bike that I'm running, because DMR death grips don't work well on a drop bar. Come to find out. And drop bars are the curly ones on 10 speeds or road bikes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my saddle or seat, depending on where you're at in your lingo, that makes a difference whether you're in a lower position with lower handlebars or a more upright position with higher handlebars. The saddle you're on is going to make a big difference if it was designed for that. And then even beyond that, where your sit bones sit and all of the rest of your undercarriage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, your point on comfort, just to kind of tie a ribbon on it, I guess. Put a bow on it. Put a bow tie. It needs a bow tie. I kind of have, shouldn't say kind of. I have a daughter and another family member, maybe all of us, who are super sensitive to comfort, and so anytime we're out doing whatever it is, whether we're like on the ski mountain or mountain biking or even on a long car ride or whatever, if you're thinking about something that's bothering you, you are not enjoying the experience. You are not in the moment. You're not having a good time. So that's kind of my gauge, and that's really easy way to gauge with somebody that you're helping get into mountain biking, or maybe a younger rider that you're working with, or even yourself. But is to ask the question: is there anything that you're thinking about on your bike or on your body, be it your helmet or your gloves or your shoes or shorts, wherever, that you're thinking about while you're riding? Because if you are, you either need to figure out why and eliminate the why. You're gonna have a better experience if you're not thinking about, is my bike doing this? What is this noise? Why does my pants feel like this? Why does my shoes? What's all those questions take you out of the experience and make it a worse ride, and you're going to be riding slower because you're distracted.
Yeah, 100%. Whenever I ask somebody what they thought of something, they're like, I didn't think about it. I'm like, perfect.
That's a good indicator.
What you want.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, because if it doesn't stand out to you, then it is exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah.
As far as comfort goes.
Yeah. If it's not bugging you, that's a really good sign it's doing what it should be doing. When we're talking about comfort. Anything else, either psychological or physical? I mean, I'm sure there's a million things. We're not going to keep going forever today.
So, one of the biggest things that gets overlooked, or sometimes looked upon too often, is lube. Lubing up your chain, washing your bike too much and rinsing away lube because you used too much detergent or soap. All of that can cause problems. So if you spin your wheel and it sounds like there's marble or marbles in a can, that's bad. You want to replace those bearings, or if you've got cup and cone bearings, then you want to put some grease in there. But something that you can easily do that needs to happen enough without happening too much is lubing your chain. And so a lot of people swear by wax lubes because there was a wax lube that came out that was just so much better than everything else that was out there, when a lot of old mountain bikers were getting after it, and so they swear by it still. But wax lube, it builds up every time you apply it, and so now we have a lot of lubes that you put on, let sit for a few minutes, and then completely remove, which is good because then you clean your chain as well as lube it. And yeah, that makes a huge difference in your efficiency, which equates to speed.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought up lube. It's one of those super basic things on a mountain bike. But funny enough, I mean, I've been mountain biking since like 1990 something. And when one of the first test videos we did that you did for MTBTune.Online was how to properly lube a chain. Mm-hmm. And then I watched it a number of times because we were trying to figure this out. I'm like, holy crap, I just learned like 3 things, which is crazy that something so simple you could really do a better job of. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from watching that video, and then I did like the written instructional part of that lesson, and I learned 2 or 3 more things. So like everything else, I mean, don't be arrogant, I guess, comes along with this if you want to get faster, and do the little things.
Oh, yeah.
And learn a little bit more about this stuff, and those little tweaks will help you out. The second thing, I thought when you said lube that you were going to talk about chamois butter.
Sticking with the comfort thing.
Yeah, sticking with the comfort thing. And that is a life changer. If you have rash in your shorts, you are not going to ride as fast. But funny thought, or my little daughter pointed this out to me. I never realized
that the bee makes a butt.
Bee in the Paceline product chamois butter, which is not a sponsor of this podcast or MTBTune.Online. I kind of never caught on to that, but my little, young daughter immediately said, "Hey, Dad, the bee's a butt." And I was like, that's pretty good marketing that I didn't catch on to. That was sneaky.
They're so clever.
So clever. I don't have anything else on my list. I know there's a million little things you can do to obviously get you faster without touching physical fitness. Yeah. I mean, or eating, which is delicious. I love to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. It really, you cannot ride your bike if you give up eating. You will not be quick enough to stay upright. Guaranteed.
Yep, it'll make you slower, Sly Fox Moon Willow. You can look him up. He drives shuttle. And
we appreciate that kind of a man.
Has done some extreme things.
He's actually pretty fast on a bike also.
He's really fast on a bike, but I guarantee when he's on one of his Moses 40-day fasts, he's not very fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you again for joining us. As always, feel free to reach out and send us your questions. Yeah, that was kind of our rundown on how to get faster through gear and comfort and the psychology of gear and comfort, rather than us telling you to go, do 700 front squats with really lightweight and pretend like you're pumping through your favorite trail. So I'm not going to do that.
I might.
No, you won't.
I won't.
Nicole's not here today. She might.
She is fast because she hits the gym, she hits the bike, she pedals when she's in the basement.
She hits Aaron occasionally.
I mouthed off.
Deserved it.
I deserved it.
We're not condoning violence. Not at all. Unless it's Nicole towards Aaron. Okay. Thanks again for joining us on Ask a Mountain Bike Professional. Remember, don't turn the screw if you don't know what to do. Wait. No.
What it do?
What it do. Don't turn the screw if you don't know what it do. Especially on your suspension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, especially on everything. Especially for our purposes today. Especially on your suspension.
Especially.
Especially. Bye now.